Sun's just about to come up. Let's make some coffee. And yes, I did pack a chair in at some point. And yes, I did make a fire ring. Constant forward motion. Bear Independent Brief, 27 December 21. Jake Sullivan, the U.S. National Security Advisor, met with Israel's Prime Minister, Naftali Bennett, last Wednesday as the country opposes moves to reinstate the Iran nuclear deal from 2015. Then, at the end of a 5-day series of military drills, Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps fired 16 ballistic missiles and 10 suicide UAVs, or Shahed 136 drones, in a simulation of an attack on Dimona nuclear power plant. The video of the simulation has been circulated for days, and Tehran released the videos to its own media as well. Al Jazeera quoted the IRGC's Major General Hossein Salami, sounds delicious, quote, "The military exercise is a serious warning to Zionist regime officials. Make the slightest mistake and we will cut off their hand," end quote. Iran issues a lot of threats, of course, but this threat has garnered a little extra focus from analysts because Iran has specifically threatened to attack the Dimona nuclear power facility. The Jerusalem Post noted, quote, "The decision by Iran to test long-range ballistic missiles and unveil a new multiple drone launcher while splicing that with digital mock-up of Dimona appears to be a new level of Iranian aggressive threats." In other words, they'd be up in their games, homeboys. I need more of this coffee for a sip. I'm sorry, that's now the second sip. I think I'll pause right here for a moment to say farewell to a true living legend, a man whom I have had the honor to shake his hand on several occasions, who unfortunately is no longer with us. Richard Marcinko, Demo Dick, the Sharkman of the Delta. Beloved, hated by the United States Navy, the daddy of SEAL Team Special Operations, SEAL Team 6 and DevGru. Early reporting is that he has passed. I don't know the details, but Godspeed, sailor. You're an awesome man. I didn't know you well, but I'm glad to have breathed the same air as you a few times. So, Richard Marcinko has been gathered to his people. Nuclear deal negotiations are to resume in Austria on Monday, the 27th of December, aka today, with attendees including representatives from many countries: China, France, Germany, Russia, the United Kingdom, and Iran. Iran, or Iran, or whatever, has claimed that the sanctions from the U.S. will not have leverage at the negotiations, but it has also said that it wants them all lifted. So, sanctions are no big deal, but also, by the way, get rid of them. And wants a period to verify the lifting of sanctions without abjuration on the part of the U.S. and otherwise trust but verify. After the U.S. pulled out of the nuclear deal in 2018, Tehran, which is the capital of Iran, started openly enriching uranium up to 60% purity. As a side note, an atomic bomb needs 90%, roughly 90% purity. Of course, Iran claims its efforts are peaceful, but Israel has been long concerned about its not-so-distant neighbors' activities. A lot hinges on these upcoming talks. Now, people will say, yeah, Israel and the Zionist regime, they're trying to, exert their will on the entire Middle Eastern, and if we weren't allied with Israel, we wouldn't have all these problems and blah, blah, blah. Look, I don't know if you people read the Bible or not, and if you don't, more power to you. And if you claim that you do, go back and read it again. These people have been trying to kill each other since jump, okay? Since somewhere around Genesis chapter 10 at the latest. These people have been trying to kill each other. So, Israel is going to operate in Israel's best interest. Iran is going to operate in Iran's best interest. And if those interests are not aligned, we're going to get a little thing called conflict. And that it all comes back to nuclear weapons. It's the scale of potential damage with nuclear weapons that gets everybody freaks out. If they were just going to be over there dropping Moabs on one another, we wouldn't care. Or J-dams, don't care. Whatever. Laser-guided munitions, okay. Y'all have at it. Have a good time. No, it's the nuclear weapons part that gets people very upset. Because now all of a sudden that has a global impact, not just a regional impact. So that's the issue here. That's why we're involved in the first place. Is we don't want the bad guys to have really big, effective weapons. That's bad news. And Israel has done all types of covert, clandestine shizzle for the last 40 years in that region to make sure that the bad guys don't get nuclear weapons. And frankly, they're really good at that covert, clandestine shizzle because they took that Holocaust thing seriously. Hashtag never again, bro. They don't really feel like getting wiped off the face of the earth again. Rob Malley, negotiator for the U.S., warned that if diplomacy failed to restore the nuclear agreement, then a period of escalating crisis would ensue. The U.S. is preparing for alternative solutions should diplomacy fail, and the IDF, aka Israeli Defense Forces. By the way, I did not plan this, but do you even have your Guns N' Moses shirt on today? Guns N' Moses. That's right. Must be something in the air. There is something in the air. It's cedar pollen, which is why my eyes look like this and why I'm spitting stuff out of my nose constantly. Because I rocked in here this morning to my little Shangri-La in the wilderness, my little forward operating base. And, bro, it's already over 70 degrees and the sun has not actually crested that ridge yet. And it's December 27th. Yesterday it was almost 80 degrees in eastern Oklahoma. And I actually need some bug dope. That the primary reason I got the fire going was coffee. The secondary reason was smoke to keep bugs off of me. And it's almost January, so I don't know. Global warming? I guess it's global warming. No, Bear, it's HARP and weather manipulation. And y'all are... you got too much free time on your hands if you're worried about that nonsense. It's real. Okay, is your pantry really full? Do you really know your neighbors' names? Do you really have a bug out location? Have you really done all the other things you're supposed to do? The answer to any of those things is nah, then STFU, bro. Yes, children. I don't know why y'all let your children watch this show, but STFU. The U.S. is preparing for alternative solutions should diplomacy fail, and the IDF, or Israeli Defense Forces, have been instructed to prepare for a potential strike. That's not just talk either. According to the reports, the equivalent of about $1.5 billion has already been authorized by Israel for such a strike. The Times of Israel wrote, quote, a senior U.S. official said earlier this month that Israel and American military leaders are set to discuss possible military drills to practice destroying Iranian nuclear facilities in a potential worst-case scenario if nuclear talks should fail. I don't know. I got a half a dozen ways just came to mind myself personally. Unfortunately, I'm not in the American military or the Israeli military, so don't matter. But if they're curious, 1-800-DIAL-A-BEAR. Let's party. I'm going to make some more coffee, wake up a little bit more, and we'll go a little bit deeper on today's brief. Stand by. So, some brief updates for those that are unaware. This is the Gen 3 Bear Fac from Refuge Medical. It's got these bar tacks on the outside. I've got an additional tourniquet. In this case, this is a soft tee on the outside, shears on the outside here Gen 3. So updated exterior pouch, updated interior contents. For those that don't know, this stays, that you throw on the ground, apparently. No, actually, this stays molly to your kit, you know, your war belt, your headrest, your rucksack, your whatever. And then this is the internal pouch that comes out from the inside. You pop this open, which you can do one-handed, as you can see. It's got all your stuff inside of it. All right, you've got your tape, your pressure bandage, your Sharpie, your nitrile gloves, cat tourniquet. And then back here you have, in addition to the usual stack, you've got 2 high-fin chest seals, a nasal pharyngeal airway, 2 5x9 gauze pads. You also have a burn tech dressing. So we've added a burn dressing to this, in addition to everything that was already in here, designed for the entirety of the March algorithm. And then down here in this bottom pouch, we've got our quick clot rolled gauze right here for wound packing. And then we've got this pouch that's got everything else in it. You've got your Mylar blanket, compressed gauze for wound packing, small gauze back here. Oh, look, an eye shield for head injuries as well. Flat duct tape, rolled gauze, triangle bandage, all the other stuff. So it's a comprehensive standalone kit built for working the entirety of the March algorithm: massive bleeding, airway, respiratory, circulation, head injury, hypothermia, and everything else. And it's made in America. It's guaranteed forever. It exceeds military specification. If you break it, I will replace it at no cost to you. And I want to know how you broke it so that we don't have that problem next time. And if you use this kit to save somebody's life or to render aid, I will replace the contents that you used at no cost. Just send me an email and we'll replace everything you used. Now, to date, 28 lives have been saved with this kit right here. And they're badass. So refugemedical.com is where you get these from. refugemedical.com. You can use promo code BearNation for free shipping. And if you didn't quite get all the stuff you were hoping to get yesterday, a couple days ago, maybe consider stopping by the Refuge Medical store. We are a small business, and we stand behind our products. We are on 4 continents with all branches of the U.S. Armed Forces, thousands of law enforcement officers throughout the United States, and civilian sheepdogs everywhere. And statistically, the most dangerous thing you do is drive. And so you need one of these in your vehicle. Yeah. Statistically, the most dangerous thing you do is drive. And the #1 cause of preventable death in the United States, in the 90th percentile, is uncontrolled bleeding. Do you tourniquet, bro? So, Refuge Medical, that's the Bear Fact 3.0. And we only put a new update out when, we only put a new version out when there's a reason to have a new version. And so, we've done that with this. So you got the upgraded pouch, internal and external pouch. You've got the burn shield, or the burn dressing rather, the eye shield, the eye pouch, or eye patch, in addition to everything else for the entirety of the March algorithm. Now, what else? Updates. Many of y'all have asked about, and trust me, we're gonna get back into the brief in a minute. So get some more coffee, go pee, whatever you gotta do. It's fun. This post-nasal drip is not fine, but I'll deal with it. Many of y'all have been asking for updates on the Grindstone mission, Grindstone Ministries in Kentucky. I'll be doing a standalone video on that, probably in the relatively near future. I will be back on site this coming Friday. We have people who are still there right now. Grindstone, we've been there around the clock through the holiday season, doing what we do. So I've got people on site right now, still getting after it. In fact, you can follow the Grindstone Ministries Instagram page for constant updates of what's going on there. But the Kenneth Homestead, the fence is up. We had a fencing crew come in. I believe the fence is completely done at this point, so thank you for those who donated to the fence, and thank you for those who came out to install the fence. He's got his roofing materials, all the debris has been cleaned up, and we're in talks with them to determine what do they want as far as animal structures are concerned, because they had a small barn for the horses, which is gone. They had a chicken coop, which is gone. They had a rabbit hutch, which is gone. And so they're very stoic people. They want us to like drop the material so they can build it themselves. I'm like, I understand that. We've also got all these people here who are available to help you. And so regardless, you know, either direction, what they want, that's what we'll do. But, and we've been blessed with a bunch of lumber. Thank you, brother. We are now working at a lady's house, who shall remain nameless at this point, at a lady's house in Dawson Springs, who lost 5 people of the 9 people on property at her house. And we had crews out there yesterday sifting through the debris to extract the last of her personal effects so that we can begin hauling the debris off, so that we can source we need to put a house back there. And so if you're a general contractor and you want to assist, admin@grindstoneministries.com. If you want to help this lady buy a new house, grindstoneministries.com. We are 100% self-supported, meaning y'all. Like, we're not beholden to any other ministries. I'm not tied to a mega church. You know, no grant monies, none of that. It's just you and me. And we go make stuff happen. And we need to get this lady a house back. Or if you're in the manufactured home business and you want to donate this woman a house or give us a deep, deep discount. And I mean like a nice house, not something that a bunch of dope fiends have been living in and you had to repo it. I mean, like, she deserves a nice house. So admin@Grindstone Ministries for that. We also need space heaters. Bad. There's 7,000, I believe it's 7,000 plus people, displaced people in Dawson Springs, Kentucky alone, many of which are living in tents right now, and tent cities. They need space heaters, like the little buddy heaters and the 1 pound propane cylinders, those. They need space heaters. And propane is better than electric because the logistics of getting electricity to a tent in a tent city is very difficult. So the new need right now is winter clothing and space heaters. Also, when you're at Grindstone Ministries, sign up for the email blast at Grindstone, because these things are going out via email on the regular. And so shout out to our crew that's still on site in Kentucky. I'll be back there Friday. It's grindstoneministries.com. We welcome your prayers. We need them. The people affected by this storm, they need it. We greatly appreciate your donations. Can't do this without your donations. And frankly, we need those too. I got to build this lady a house. Got to finish up the Kenneth project. And then 70% of the homes in Dawson Springs were destroyed. I can't replace all those homes. I can't help all those people. But I'm going to help as many as I can. So, grindstoneministries.com. Let me sip a little bit more of this coffee and we'll talk about Russia and Ukraine. And then perhaps a little bit of China as well. So there was a lot of chatter that Russia could potentially invade Ukraine Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. And they didn't do that. And I think that's a good thing. Because had they done that, there was the potential for all hell to break loose and then some. It leaves a lot of people kind of scratching their heads right now, like, all right, so they didn't do that. What are they going to do? Well, as we've discussed previously, there's 2 camps here. There's 2 main schools of thought. One is that Russia is going to get the Ukraine. And then the other is that Russia is not actually interested in a conflict in Ukraine. They're just basically fear-mongering so that they can get as many concessions from NATO as possible. So those in the second camp, those that think that Russia's just talking a bunch of trash so they can get extract as many concessions from NATO as possible. Those people are basically saying, look, see, if they were going to go, they would have gone, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and they didn't, so they're not going to go into Ukraine. I'm in the first camp. I still think Russia's going to get Ukraine. I think they need Ukraine strategically. What I've been wondering, and I don't know, and so this is just me, positing a thought here. There was no overt large-scale military action from Russia to Ukraine during the Christmas season. What has been happening covertly, behind the scenes? Whose daughters were abducted? Whose bank accounts were frozen? Whose brake lines were cut? Who had airline accidents? Stuff like that. There's more than one way to skin a cat. And now that the whole world is looking at this Russia-Ukraine thing, there's many tools in the toolkit. Why would I go overt hot war if I can still go covert cold war with key individuals, key decision makers? The Ukrainian leadership has basically been told by the Americans, bro, thanks but no thanks, we're not getting involved. Well, what about the treaty we made with them? Bad treaty, shouldn't have made it. And what is the word of a politician worth anyway? My answer, not much. So the Americans, and basically NATO, have therefore hung Ukraine out to dry. They're like, hey, y'all, best of luck over there with Russia. We're not getting involved. So now that everybody's looking at that, watching Russia, Russia still wants to be able to sell their natural gas and their energy into Europe, right? Which is why they don't really want to piss NATO off. But yet Russia needs Ukraine because they need the warm water ports in the Sea of Azov. They need the water to Crimea, and the Luhansk and Donetsk regions are basically the breadbasket of that area to produce the resources to feed their people and run their war machine. Russia needs that. And so are there political and covert ways to deal with that problem? Yep. And so, again, just positing, I have no evidence, no intel, no data to this effect. But what has been happening behind the scenes? I don't know. Now, from RT, Chechen leader suggests Russia should invade and annex Ukraine. The head of the Chechen Republic said he would have invaded long ago if he were instructed to do so. Ramzan Kadyrov. It looks like a good old boy, man. You put a 10-gallon hat on him and some spurs, he'd fit right in Texas. Ukraine should be annexed by Moscow if the country's president, Vladimir Zelensky, does not change course from his anti-Russian policy, Chechen leader Ramzan Kadyrov said on Sunday. Speaking at his annual end-of-year press conference, Kadyrov offered his view that Ukrainians are also Russian people. See, that's key. That's key to understand here. The Ukrainian people, many of them, most of them, identify as Russians. Chechnya, which he has led, this Ramzan Kadyrov, which he has led since 2007, is a republic of Russia in the country's south bordering Georgia. Quote, my deep conviction is that if Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, and his team behave this way, Ukraine should be annexed to our country, meaning Russia. The Ukrainians are our people. It is our territory. This is my opinion, says Kadyrov, noting that he would have been ready to lead an offensive to annex Ukraine to the Chechen Republic if instructed to do so. Quote, if I had been entrusted with it, I would have solved it long ago, he said, stressing that he is simply expressing a personal opinion. Hey man, if you had put this into my hand, I would have made it happen long ago. However, Vladimir, Mr. Putin, sir, no big deal that you haven't gotten it done yet. I'm simply expressing my opinion because I don't feel like getting vanished anytime soon. I don't want to be deleted from the Matrix. No, sir, no, ma'am. I'm just saying, apologies, sir. had you tasked me with this, if it was in the best interest of the Russian Republic, then I would have handled this years ago. But it's okay that you didn't, and it's okay that you didn't get it done. Please don't murder my entire family and disappear me. Kadyrev's comments came as tensions on the border between Russia and Ukraine remain high. In recent weeks, Western media outlets have alleged that the Kremlin is building up its troop presence on the frontier and planning an invasion. Moscow has denied all such accusations. And see, that's another thing. It's one more chip in Putin's hands, or one more card in Putin's hand to play, is that he can, again, show, look, man, I'm not doing this. You keep saying I was going to do this. I didn't do it. I didn't do it. I didn't do it. Wham! Right? And there's a whole Sun Tzu art of war thing to think about here. When weak appear strong, when strong appear weak. Which gets into the second school of thought that Russia doesn't actually have the ability to wage war in Ukraine. They can wage war in Ukraine. They can't deal with the follow-on effects of starting a war in Ukraine if NATO and America get involved. I think Russia's going to get Ukraine. How they get Ukraine remains to be seen, but they have many tools in their toolkit. They have conventional military. They have covert operations. They have espionage. They have politics. They have influence. They have all of that at their disposal. And a good chess player isn't just going to use pawns all the time. And we're not going to keep throwing pawns across the board. We're going to use our rooks. We're going to use our bishops. We're going to use the queen, right? We'll maneuver the king if we have to, right? We've got tools in our toolkit. It's not all bombs and tanks and planes and guns. Although Russia can certainly do bombs and tanks and planes and guns. And that's the main concern. Again, much like with Iran and Israel, when people halfway around the world start killing each other, most other people don't care. It's what are the follow-on effects of them doing that could affect me? And with conventional munitions, whatever. Hey, they made some more craters over there halfway around the world. That sucks. Glad I'm not them. Most people carry on with their life. No, it's when they start bringing out the big guns that everybody sits up and takes notice, because mutually assured destruction is not a thing that most people, the vast majority of people, are interested in. Moscow has denied all such accusations of building up its troop presence, and the Kremlin has repeatedly said that it poses no threat to any other country. Kadyrev from Chechnya, however, holds an entirely different opinion and wants Russia to solve the issue with the Ukrainian military. Wants Russia to solve the issue with Ukraine militarily. Use your pawns. According to the Chechen leader, Russian President Vladimir Putin must reject foreign countries dictating conditions to Moscow because the, quote, security of the state and people, end quote, are the most important thing, and the region's infantry is absolutely ready to leave and carry out orders without any problems. Last week, the Secretary of Ukraine's National Security and Defense Council, Alexei Danilov, claimed Russia had deployed 122,000 servicemen within 200 kilometers of the border, with another 143,500 within a distance of 400 kilometers. So about 125 miles from the border, Russia's got 122,000 men per Danilov of Ukraine. Then they've got another 143,000, so that's a total of 165,500 troops, all within 250 miles of the border. Average convoy speed, 50 miles an hour. Yeah, they're within 5 hours of the border. Little setup, little tear down, little make ready. 8 hours if we're in a hurry. Within 24 hours if we're not. It's go time. Speaking again on Saturday, Danilov also noted there was no significant risk of an imminent invasion. Quote, "We don't think this is a big surge," he said, end quote. So, we'll see. That's a little bit on Russia, Ukraine there. We'll save China for another day, for Wednesday. Maybe we'll talk about it on Coffee Time with Bear tomorrow on Patreon. Shout out to the patrons Couldn't do this without y'all. You're the best. I appreciate you. Shout out to everybody in the Bear Nation. Please continue to pray for us, and to continue to pray for the people in Kentucky who have had their lives absolutely smashed. And please consider supporting Grindstone Ministries. I am not too proud to ask you for your help. We need it. Bless y'all. Shalom.